It's not about having intelligence. It's about whether or not the intelligence is trained.
G'day, Huey. Episode 5.
Episode 5. Can't believe it. Wow. We're covering a lot of ground and very quickly. And I'm really pleased what we've done so far. We've called the series Train.Brain.Daily. So in our first episode, we looked at that. This is, in fact, the main point we want to get across in this series is it's about intelligence. And I'm pleased to say here's a bit of news. On next Monday, the 28th of July, I'll be in Launceston and installing the first school in Australia to teach neuroscience in primary school.
Wow.
And we'll be doing a lesson. We'll be working with the teachers and the parents, and then the kids will get their first lesson. But it's not to get them to become neuroscientists at all and to even learn all the bits about the brain, just to be aware of the brain and ask questions like, why did my brain do that? Or why did her brain behave that way that she behaved like that, rather than just ignoring it as if it's some sort of magic.
Yeah.
And so anyway, that's happening on Monday. What we've looked at Train.Brain Daily. The point I want to make is that intelligence, we make a big fuss about intelligence, school IQ tests and measuring that and so on. Isn't it great? He's intelligent. He's not so hot. In Silicon Valley, it's about parameters and all sorts of other metrics in business and so on. But in fact, it's not about having intelligence. It's about whether or not the intelligence is trained. And it's like one thing maybe to have a Maserati, for example. But if you don't know how to drive it,
Sure.
it could be quite a menace.
Yeah.
And so that leads us into the intelligence trap. Just having intelligence but not necessarily trained, just using the old medieval, I'm right, you're wrong, and let me use my intelligence to defend the rightness of my point of view and then conflict and look around the world. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about trained intelligence. Now, it's really been pointed out to us by AI that ChatGPT last year spent more on training the artificial intelligence than it did on salaries and marketing. Yeah. Whereas your typical Fortune 500 or Australian company, there's a bit of a budget for training, but we don't have time for that now because we're too busy doing our jobs.
That's right.
Thing. And I know you had a recent experience with that. You were telling me the story of...
one of my clients, yeah. But what was going through my head at that moment when you were just describing that was the Will Smith spaghetti eating videos that came out, I think, about 2 years ago. Did you ever see those?
No, I didn't.
If you Google original Will Smith, the actor,
yes,
and he's eating spaghetti, and his whole face is basically spaghetti. It's malleable, it's moving in the wrong ways. His eyes go left to right.
Oh, right.
And today, that same technology, the AI, we can't tell the difference between, is it really Will Smith eating spaghetti?
Yes,
or
indeed,
is it AI?
And that's largely because of training.
Training
and like mega training.
Yep.
So the point on that is, you can have intelligence, but you can be a ground floor thinker, just on the ground floor, just using the intelligence to sort things into their boxes, sort of mail sorting and slapping labels on things and preserving points of view and making sure that everything is the way that we have it ordered. Or you can be a penthouse thinker, where you're using intelligence, but you have to be trained to be that. You really got to be an elite thinker, just like an athlete. It's not one thing for a footballer or another athlete just to sort of have talent. It's a good starting point. But I've been told by Olympic coaches that even sometimes athletes that are actually behind the eight ball may have some injury or something that they've started with. But because they're big on training and big on discipline, so on, they can even surpass people that may have a natural ability but don't see the need for training. So the effort that we are making, the emphasis we're making in this series is training, the difference between having intelligence and training intelligence. And that applies to both human intelligence and to artificial intelligence. Then we went on, so that led us into the intelligence trap, which was the idea that, for example, you could have a high IQ, but if you're just using that medieval Greek logic software, right, wrong system, this is right, that's wrong, useful, but not enough, then you'd be using your brain power to trap yourself into defending the rightness of your point of view rather than escaping from it, finding something 10 times better.
Yep.
That leads to a nice little thought experiment that your listeners can try now. What would you prefer your brain to tell you in a medical situation whether you want the right diagnosis or a better diagnosis. And I once did this with a group of top medical people, Sir Gus Nossel, just to drop a name, and of some others. And it produced a fantastic discussion. And Sir Gus revealed, he said it's sort of a well-known secret in medicine that around 10 to 15% of diagnoses are not correct.
Right.
So that's a reasonably high number. So if you just have the right diagnosis, then that's it. It's like excellent. But we said last week, excellent, but not enough.
Yep.
So it's the right diagnosis. But I had a doctor, a really great doctor, and they would find files under his bed. He'd take them home at night because nothing was ever enough. He just kept looking and kept searching. So the difference between the ground floor, I'm right, you're wrong thinker, high intelligence, no problem, but then the elite trained thinker, like someone doing this podcast series, can then be a penthouse thinker and, look out the window and see far, see beyond. And so then we got into curiosity, and today we're going to do a little bit more on curiosity, a little bit just about what parts of the brain are involved and a bit about that.
Right. Great. Well, on that note, what curiosity isn't? It isn't a light bulb moment.
No, and you're right. That famous cartoon with the light bulb above the head is cute, but that's not what curiosity. Curiosity isn't that simple. It's actually can be quite difficult in brains that aren't particularly curious. As I say, high intelligence caught in the trap using their intelligence to defend their point of view, their CVS, current view of the situation, rather than escaping and looking for the BVS, better view of the situation. And the three parts of the brain are involved, and you don't need to worry about the names, but I'll tell you so you know at least that I know what they are. But there's the hippocampus, and that's the part of the brain that just is we're watching how things are going. We're going along very nicely, and it's scanning, and it's really giving us our CVS, our current view of the situation. Then you've got the anterior cingulate cortex, which is called the ACC, but don't worry about the name. But that's sort of the lookout. That's sort of the scout. That's the one that's looking for something that may be unusual or a surprise or something different, which is typical of life. Things pop up. And then when that is identified, it's then sent upstairs to the CEO, to the prefrontal cortex, the PFC, but to the boss. And he decides basically one of two things. Don't worry about it. Things, we defend our position. Things are right. We put that in that box, and then things are okay. Or this could be interesting. Might cost a bit of glucose and a bit of energy, but let's ask a question. Let's do a search, maybe. Let's do some ChatGPT. Let's ask our customer. I'm worried about this. Get on the phone. Get and ask them. Discuss it with our partner. What's the enemy doing? All these sorts of things. So it's that switch, and this could be happening 1,000 times a day.
Yep.
And so in the curious brain, the switches to let's take a look at this, let's ask a question, let's explore a little bit further, quite a lot, rather than sort of not very often at all. And that then gives us the curious person. And of course you can practice it, and the more you do it, the better you are. And there can be techniques, as we'll be giving in this series, called lateral thinking and GBBs and so on. But that's just for those who are interested, a bit of Neuroscience 101, 3 parts of the brain. So it's not just a light bulb going on and off. It's a very busy brain involved in curiosity. Yeah,
right. And I guess your idea is that you would intentionally move from that ACC to the PFC, and you'll be aware of that.
Yes.
You're conscious, aware of that.
We won't be going to that level of detail with the kids on Monday, but you've hit the nail on the head. It's being aware. We will be raising their awareness about the brain. And I guess in all the big cultural moves forward that we've had in our lifetime, they've all been about awareness, raising awareness, haven't they? Whether it's raising awareness about feminism or about, animal rights or the climate and so on. And so what we'll be trying to raise the awareness in the kids in the primary schools is just about their brain. So why did my brain do that?
Yeah.
What did my brain learn from that experience that it might be able to use next time?
Right.
Ask those kind of questions. We'll be giving them 5 questions that they can ask. And in asking those questions, they don't need to know all the details. of the brain, which we won't be teaching them about the parts of the brain and the prefrontal cortex, not at this stage. But having an awareness about the brain, having that in conversation, come home, kid bullied me today, instead of saying, well, what a nasty kid, we'll go and talk to them. Well, what was going on in his brain that led to that behavior? Now, it doesn't have to be technical.
Yeah.
Well, he was angry, or he left his lunch behind and he didn't have any, things like that can happen. And So it's raising awareness about the brain. We're doing it in this podcast series, particularly about training the brain.
Yeah.
And for those kids, just about asking those kinds of questions. We're calling them brain detectives.
Brain detectives. That's fantastic. It's all. I'm getting flashbacks of Sims, 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 which was a computer game. It still is.
Yes.
Where you play a character, and the characters fall in love. They get angry. Right. They die even in this. And very much the questions that you're asking us to ask ourselves is very much like, for example, what was the brain hoping for, or what can the brain learn for next time? It's like seeing ourselves as a third party, an outer body experience almost.
Yes,
and saying, right, the character that I'm playing in this simulation, being life. Why do I behave like that? Or why did I react?
Exactly, except instead of being out of the body, it's inside the brain, and they know where it is. And it doesn't have to be seen as some sort of magic.
Yeah.
In the medieval theory, as you know, is the Cartesian theory, the dualist theory. It's called the mind-body, and it leaves you with the impression, I tell my brain what to do. But no. Your brain tells you what to do.
Yes.
And kids should know that. It's the difference between thinking the earth is flat or round.
Yeah.
And you should at least learn that in primary school. You don't have to go into any further detail, but just enough to be able to say, I wonder why my brain did that. And then later on you can find out it might have something to do, you didn't have enough sleep, or what you're eating, or whether you're living in a stressful environment. And this all starts from conception in the womb. Imagine a brain being formed in a womb in Gaza compared to one in Armidale. Mm-hmm. These are all realities, and everything else that goes along. So just being aware of that allows people to be more curious, more compassionate, more scientific in their thinking, but they don't have to become neuroscientists. No. But this knowledge now exists, and particularly when we've got AI breathing down our neck, it's useful to understand a bit about intelligence, both human and artificial.
Yeah. Yeah, great. So that, I believe you call it the 3-step dance of curiosity.
Well, it just, again, referring to those three entities, so we won't say the names now, hippocampus, anterior cingulate cortex, ACC, and prefrontal cortex. Forget about them. One is sort of the captain of the ship, driving the ship along according to the navigation and making sure that we're going in the direction that we need to go to, so that kind of thing. And then someone else is on the lookout, making sure there's no icebergs, or if there are, or what's happening, and going on. And so drawing attention to any surprises, anything unusual, anything different, to and then it's I guess it's the captain who it's who finally decides, well, okay, no, everything's fine, just ignore that. Or, wow, we should invest some glucose, some time, some energy, some dopamine, and then maybe do some of the techniques which we've all learned, such as, look up a dictionary, read a book, ask a friend, and now, of course, online it's Google and Claude and so on. Other than just, I'm right, that doesn't fit, so just ignore it. So that's the kind of dance between those three entities that's going on in the brain.
Yeah. And that CEO decision, that last role, traditionally we might, three parts, isn't it? It's defend, ignore.
Yes.
Or the best case, investigate.
Investigate, exactly. And that's what we mean by curiosity, that when we're investigating, ignoring things as usual. I do refer to this because it's something that everybody knows and they're not entirely happy with, so I don't think it's being too unfair. But look at the Parliament. If you do look at the Parliament, which you can see, now these are people of goodwill, they're not villains there. But the system, the way it's set up, the Westminster system is set up as a binary system of we're right, you're wrong. So you will see all the people on one side say, we're right, and nothing you say makes any sense. There's no one saying, oh, that's interesting, and then investigating a question, and then that can on rare occasions turn into something that's bypassed and some stuff gets done. But it is, unfortunately, most of the time is spent on this binary, conflict type of scenario, hoping that what's left over will be sort of a safe and productive future. But it hasn't turned out that way, and people are aware of that now. So,
Yeah, wow. And that curiosity, I mean, children have it naturally because there's no right, wrong in their world because they don't know what right and wrong.
And they need it to find out and survive,
Is this hot? Yes, it is. Good or bad. That curiosity sort of disappears over time as we get schooled.
Yes.
But we need to bring it back. And it's not a trait as such. It's not a personality trait. It's a habit.
Yeah, no, it's not a personality trait. It's a function of the brain, which is there for survival reasons. Your point about being schooled is right. It just depends on the kind of schooling, and things are changing. I mean, the schooling today is not the same as it was when I was schooled. I'm well aware of that. So, but if a heavy emphasis is on judgment, on right and wrong, on exams of the right-wrong nature where there's right answers, kids obviously want to pass. They want their parents' investment to be satisfied, and they want to get to, feel they're doing well. So that's perfectly reasonable. So to do that, I've got to make sure I match the right bit of information into the right slot. That's the right answer.
Yep.
And so they get good at all of that. And then that doesn't demand curiosity. And so they lose, because it's a skill or it's a habit, you might say. So if you're not doing it as often as you used to, then it fades away. And that can apply to physical skills or anything. And in the military, for example, they teach you to be more observant. They teach you, in my version of the military in the Vietnam era, they teach you not just to look at the jungle, but to look into the jungle. Now, I didn't know you don't know how to do it at first because you just see the wall. It's the old, you can't see the forest for the trees.
Right,
well, you couldn't see the trees for the forest, the jungle. But then they would teach you techniques of how to look in, how to look at night, how to have night vision, how to broaden your perceptual range, which might have been, I don't know, X number of degrees, and to make it even wider.
Right.
And I was surprised. These are actual perceptual skills you could learn apart from other techniques and drills and ambush drills and how to eject from a plane and all the various things you had to learn. And how this all struck me and stayed with me as my career, we were just in a raffle.
Yeah.
We weren't highly selected because of our incredible brilliance and skill and best in the class, and we were just, birthdays were drawn out of a raffle, and if you were born on that birthday, you went into the army. It was, what was it called, the draft?
The draft,
or national service. So, what kind of a pedagogy, what kind of a training program is able to just draw people at random from a hat, put them through a series of training, put them through training, and then send them into battle?
Yeah.
And this is, basically started with the Roman army that developed these train-the-trainer techniques and so on, and has evolved in the last few thousand years of military science, has evolved very, very powerful training techniques because the bottom line is so severe.
Yeah.
So in a Darwinian sense, the selection pressure on military training, say compared to academic training or even business training, that doesn't exist that much, I didn't realize until later in my career, it's that Darwinian pressure, the bottom line. Its body line is body bags. In business, it's make a profit, and in academia, it's just pass an exam or get tenure. You know, so all of this is to unpack our discussion of the difference between having intelligence and having it trained. And the better the training, and the more the training, the more elite, and then the more you go from the ground floor up to the penthouse.
Yeah. Yeah, that's amazing. I've always wondered, given that everyone was drafted with the same zodiac, I'm wondering if they read the newspaper that morning and it said, Pisces, you're going to have a bad day today. And that's the entire platoon.
Yes.
I was like, we don't go on mission today, guys, the zodiac.
No, there was none of that.
No.
Yeah, no. I was surprised how scientific the military is. I mean, it's not that it's scientific, it's just that it must have the latest, best stuff that's available. It has the budget. The need is there.
Yep.
There's always some sort of competition. It might be called an enemy, but if not in a war, just competitive things. There's protection and there's everything else, and so it wants to know what's the cutting edge and what it can use, and a lot of that is science. It turns out. So there's not a lot of astrology.
No.
There's quite a lot of astronomy, though.
Sure.
Yeah,
but even more so these days.
Yes, indeed.
The ACC, that's that one.
Anterior cingulate cortex.
And it flags things that don't fit.
Yeah, that's the guy in the lookout
Yeah.
sort of thing. Oh, what's this,
And it can be hacked
Yes.
unintentionally by programs like TikTok and
Or intentionally.
but not by us, by a third party, perhaps.
Yes. It's very clear now, and there's big discussions in government regulations and so on of how quite intentional
Yep.
Many of the Silicon Valley operations were in hacking neuroscience, which they can hire the best, brains that are around from Stanford and whatever. And then if they decide, if their way of looking at things isn't because they have competitors and they say, well, we want to keep our users online as long as possible, how do we keep a brain? So what we need to do is surprise it constantly, and then you lead to doom scrolling and so on, the problems, and not a lot of thought about maybe what the consequences were. So yes, the brain can be hacked and is hacked.
Yeah.
So a brain that can be trained, in other words, can be hacked. If there was no neuroplasticity and, you got your brain and that's it somehow and nothing can be done about it, well, it couldn't be trained and it couldn't be hacked.
No.
But if it is malleable, if it is plastic, if it can be trained, it can also be hacked. And all the more reason kids should be aware of things like this and what protections they can have and so on.
Yeah.
And the best protection is some level of understanding.
Yeah. Yeah, it's first knowing that you're getting addicted, say, to computer games could be one thing, or other things. And then the next step is then doing things about it.
Yeah, yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And there's going to be more of that. It's going to be a bit of an arms race, but we're on the side of raising awareness and offering. Well, they sound like acronyms, but they're actually algorithms, actual software for the brain.
Right. So that kind of leads us into a little bit of a challenge for listeners. This challenge won't take any time at all. It's only 3 milliseconds. That's right, milliseconds.
In the brain, yes.
And what are you suggesting? That
it's more than 3 milliseconds when we talk about it now, and then suggest that they do it. But then once you actually do it, it only takes the brain milliseconds to do it. So it's this thing we've talked about when something unusual happens. Someone says something that causes a different emotion.
Yep.
Well, I don't necessarily agree with that, or I didn't. That's not what I heard, or not. It may be something like that. It may be something you see online that seems odd. But an alarm bell will go off. Now, sometimes it's just one bell. Sometimes it's 2 bells. Sometimes it's 3 bells. But we all know what that's like. It's and then that leads to then a decision, and that's the 3 millisecond decision.
Right.
Do I just ignore it? Do I investigate it?
Yes.
Or defend it? Yes. Well, even worse, defend it. So do I defend? No, that's not happening because this is the way we do things.
Yep.
So when I want your opinion, I'll give it to you, as Edward once said to me. But or do we just ignore it? Or do we say, hey, wait a minute, there could be something to look at here.
Yeah.
And then one of two things happens. There isn't anything to look at. It's a bit of a waste of time and energy and dopamine. Or you get a whole new direction that you can follow and you can mine and you can use.
Yep.
To not do that, you don't have the mistakes and the failures, but then you don't get the wins.
Wow. All right. Well, I think that's great. I'm looking forward to our next episode where you come back from Tasmania.
Yes.
And possibly your most difficult audience, young children.
Yes.
They can be tough.
Yeah, tough. Kids and pets, they say, don't they?
That's right. That's right. And you'll have, you may be aspiring new neuroscientists.
You never know.
Coming out of Tasmania. Well, thank you again. Episode 5.
Fantastic.